Let's dive into the Pico 4 Ultra. And on paper, the specs are impressive. A Qualcomm XR2 Gen 2, 12 gigs of memory, Wi-Fi 7 and upgraded mixed reality cameras with a depth sensor. Sounds fantastic, right? But here's the catch. Great specs only shine if the software can match, so I'm really curious to see just how far Pico has pushed things in that department. And we'll also take a look at the new motion trackers. Join me beyond reality. The box holds the usual suspects: the headset, controllers, a USB-C cable, a glasses spacer, and of course the obligatory documents. Now, other than the slight color difference, the Pico 4 Ultra is basically a twin to the Pico 4, Pico's previous headset that released in 2022. You've got the same elite style strap with built-in speakers, adjustable via the back wheel, plus a top Velcro strap to help balance the weight on your headset. The volume buttons are still at the top right, and it still rotates up nearly 90 degrees, handy when you need to take a quick look at your surroundings. In terms of weight, there's barely any change, 586 compared to 580 grams front plus strap. This balance keeps it among the most comfortable headsets out there. That said, I'm still not a fan of the stiff face foam, and the strap isn't swappable, which is a bit limiting, but overall, I give it a checkmark for comfort. The displays remain unchanged. Dual 2.56-inch fast LCDs with a 90Hz refresh rate with a resolution of 2160 x 2160 per eye and a PPI of 1200. The pancake lenses still provide a 105-degree field of view, and the IPD adjustment remains motorized, ranging from 58 to 72 millimeters. The real upgrades are inside. The processor, memory, and higher versions of Wi-Fi and Bluetooth have all been improved, and especially Wi-Fi 7 could be nice for PC VR streaming. However, the headset also needs to have enough power to decode the wireless signal, and unfortunately I wasn't able to test if the headset can handle that, and I think the difference might not be as big, but still, it's nice to have. Another significant improvement is the battery. The Ultra features a 5700 mAh capacity with fast charging up to 45 watts, doubling the speed of the previous model. You can now charge up to 80% in just 38 minutes and hit 100% in about an hour plus, a very welcome change. One more big difference is the mixed reality or MR cameras. The Ultra now comes with two MR cameras instead of one, upgraded to 32 megapixels, and on top of that they've added a depth sensor, which allows for room mapping to improve the pass-through experience. So let's dig into that. There's a drastic improvement actually in the mixed reality experience. The pass-through used to look distorted and a bit uncomfortable to use. Now with the Ultra, most of those issues have been fixed. That said, it's not perfect. There is still noticeable noise and some blurriness, but it's improved enough that I can actually read my phone screen through the pass-through. Although funny enough, you might not need to do that much longer, since Pico is adding a feature to stream your Android phone inside the headset, planned for Q4 2024. But we'll get into multitasking and stuff a bit later. The pass-through stereo image is now significantly better, and while there is still a slight lag, it is quite on par with Quest and not at all something that bothers me. This all makes it easier to move around comfortably in pass-through. There's also almost no distortion anymore, though it's still not completely depth accurate. For example, if you place something like my Yoda in front of the headset, it doesn't quite line up perfectly with the real object. There is a small offset. Still, this is a massive step forward from what I first tried on the first Pico 4, but if we compare it to the Quest 3, the Quest does a better job with depth correctness, making the pass-through feel more natural. However, if you look at your hands on the Quest 3 and wave them around, the image becomes blurry and warped. In contrast, on the Pico 4 Ultra, my hands stay sharp even in motion. That is a big plus. However, there is no hand occlusion, meaning virtual menus will appear in front of your hands, which can feel a bit off. These differences come down to how each headset handles software corrections for pass-through. both systems approach it differently and each has its strengths and weaknesses. Personally, I still prefer the Quest 3's pass-through overall, but the Pico 4 Ultra has improved to the point where if you didn't want to buy a Quest 3, the experience is solid enough to stand on its own. Ultimately though, it's not just about pass-through quality, it's about what you can do with it, and I am glad to see games like RayNeo on this headset. And this opens up the possibility to get a lot more MR games. And just like Apple and Meta, ByteDance's Pico is enhancing its OS to support running multiple 2D windows and apps. Pico OS handles multitasking in a unique way though. Thanks to its 12 gigs of RAM, which is about 50% more than what the Quest 3 offers, it can run up to 20 windows at the same time, which is more than Quest 3. This includes web browsers, setting windows, side-loaded 2D Android apps, or even streaming your PC or Mac directly inside the headset as a big screen. However, there is a limitation. Pico OS only allows you to move the windows around you in a circle, so you can't bring the windows closer or push them further away, and that feels very restrictive, especially since the headset is fully capable of 6-DoF tracking, so it's a bit puzzling why they opted for this design, as more freedom in window positioning would make this experience much more versatile. I also tested streaming my desktop PC, but I noticed that using an ultra-wide resolution resulted in a blurry mess. Switching to lower resolutions like Full HD made it much more readable, but that's not a lot of resolution, so I think this feature could be useful when you're on the go with the laptop and you need like the screen in front of you instead of below you, then it could be helpful. However, it is quite lacking in comparison with the sharpness or the ecosystem integration of something like the Vision Pro. That said, for a device costing 5 times less, having this feature is a great bonus, and it's exciting to see more and more headsets becoming capable of doing multitasking like this. The multitasking performance itself is smooth. Opening multiple windows and switching between tasks doesn't seem like it interrupts the workflow much, which is promising. You can also easily install APKs to get 2D Android apps running on the headset. Simply connect the headset to your PC and it will show up as a USB device. Then just drop the APKs in and install them directly. I just really appreciate how simple this process is compared to Quest. But I have tested a few apps and many apps are not compatible, but some like WhatsApp do run fine, so you just have to spend some time experimenting with different APK versions to see what works on the headset. Visually, the headset still holds up well. It's similar to the previous Pico, but now you get about 2.5 times more GPU power and about 20% boost in CPU performance. This allows for a slight bump in rendered resolution from 1560 to 1920 x 1920. But do I notice a huge difference with the previous Pico? Honestly, not really. Everything is still sharp and vibrant as it was before. Sure, the black levels aren't ideal with LCDs as before, but the colors are bright. There's a large sweet spot and no God rays, which is great. There is a slight glare though, but it's not distracting playing games, but it is a little bit while watching movies, but it's not personally to me. The field of view remains the same at 105 degrees, and compared to other headsets, it's kind of on par, maybe horizontally less wide, but vertically a bit taller compared to Quest 3. But I honestly don't think you'll see much difference unless you're looking at them side by side. Do the visuals look better than the Quest 3? Not exactly. I still think the Quest 3's optical stack looks better overall. However, in my opinion, the differences are now small enough that maybe they don't matter as much anymore. If you disagree, let me know in the comments. As for performance, I tested a few games and they all ran smoothly. The only hiccup I encountered was in Red Matter 2, where I noticed some stuttering. I'm not sure if that was due to the game not fully optimized for the Pico 4 Ultra or because I was recording at the same time, but it was a bit distracting. I also noticed that the pass-through needs a moment to properly show up. When switching from pass-through back into VR, there's occasionally a slight delay before the view fully stabilizes. I'm not sure what is causing that, but it might be the depth sensor trying to fix figure out the room first. However, aside from that, everything else I've tested runs smoothly. I have to say I'm really impressed with the new controllers and tracking. The Pico 4 Ultra comes with updated controllers and they're pretty fine. They're a bit on the heavier side at 164 grams each because they need 2 batteries, but they have a solid feel. The vibration motor is strong and the controllers fit comfortably in my hands. I'm really liking them so far. Plus, with the tracking rings gone, handling guns two-handed is easier, and even without those rings, the tracking has definitely improved with this generation. I haven't experienced any occlusion issues even with tricky situations like using a bow and arrow where one controller has to sit right next to your ear, a spot where tracking often fails. Of course, like any inside-out tracking system, there are still some blind spots if you push it, but overall, these controllers handled it really well. I've also been enjoying the speakers. They're loud and clear, and I think it's actually pretty solid. There is no audio jack, however, but you can use Bluetooth to plug in your own. As for the microphone, here's a quick sample of how it sounds. Hi! This is what the Pico 4 Ultra microphone sounds like, and if you enjoyed this video so far, please give it a like as it really helps us keep making content like this. Now onto 2 new features of this headset. First, you can take spatial photos and videos now and view them right inside the headset. Seems like everyone is following Apple's lead on this. I've taken a few pictures and videos, and I mean, it works great and they look pretty good. I just honestly don't see myself using a VR headset yet for capturing moments, but it surely is a nice to have. The second new feature is the Pico motion trackers, which strap onto your ankles and give you leg tracking. They come as a pair for 89 euros and connect via USB-C. And I really like how lightweight they are. The trackers themselves weigh just 14 grams, and with the base they're about 39 grams in total. Let's see how well they work with these super wide cargo pants. Setting them up is really simple. Following the instructions in the headset app, it only took a few seconds. Once that's done, they'll work straight away with compatible games like VR Chat, and they also support PC VR games through Steam VR. Pico says there are over 20 standalone games that already support them. Not a lot yet, but it will do. And surprisingly, they worked fine with my white pants. The trackers automatically detect which foot is moving, and I could pull off a few fun moves. Of course, since they only track your ankles, it is not 100% full body tracking. They only track your feet, and the software predicts the rest of your movements. So for more complex motions, they don't quite keep up yet, but they're still a blast. I mean, especially for shoujo VR games where you want your avatar to feel more interactive. It's also fun for certain fitness games like Dance Dash VR, where you can work out your feet along with your arms. After all, we can't skip leg day, right? Battery life of these things is pretty solid at 25 hours, and charging only takes around 90 minutes. Overall, I think it's a fun addition if you already own a Pico headset. The only concern I have is whether developers will continue supporting something this niche, as game support might be limited. That said, I have noticed a lot more games available on the Pico store now, including some really solid titles. However, what's still missing, I sound like a grandma saying this over and over again, is the big exclusives that Meta has, and unfortunately Pico still hasn't made progress on that front yet. On the bright side, you can stream PC VR games seamlessly, wirelessly, using their own software or a virtual desktop now, which I always recommend as it works really well. Now, I do appreciate what Pico has done with their software. They've added a ton more features and have worked on delivering what they promised, like multitasking, improved mixed reality, the friend system, and the motion tracker. However, they just take a much longer time to get there compared to MetaQuest. Not the motion trackers, but all the other stuff. The motion trackers are actually a unique selling point of this headset, as it doesn't cost much to get some kind of full body tracking on a standalone headset, which is nice. Overall, I'm still trying to understand Pico's direction. I mean, we waited 2 years for this headset, and while this chipset and sensor upgrades are solid, the fact that it's still using the same lenses and displays from 2 years years ago feels like a missed opportunity. And what about the Pico 5? Is it even coming? I can see why some might feel let down, and if Pico and ByteDance seem less committed to VR, it could give potential buyers a reason to hesitate. Now, the Pico 4 Ultra isn't a massive upgrade over the Pico 4, but if you see it as a refresh, it could be a solid option. If you already own a Pico 4, there is no urgent need to upgrade, and if you're in the market for a standalone headset and haven't bought one yet, I do have to say the Pico 4 Ultra is hard to recommend over the Quest 3. As much as I want stronger competition, the Quest 3 still delivers the best value at its price point, with Meta constantly rolling out new features and value. In contrast, Pico is still playing catch up, especially on the software side. That said, not everyone wants a Quest, and Pico 4 Ultra does stand well on its own. But I would really love to hear your thoughts though, so let me know in the comments if this headset is something you're considering, and if you have any other questions, feel free to ask. I'll do my best to answer. Pre-orders for the Pico 4 Ultra are open from September 6 to 19 for €599, including the Pico motion trackers and 4 games. It's available now in Europe and parts of Asia, but there's still no news on an US release. Thank you for watching. Love y'all.